Hi guys, excited to welcome Kuda Biza here with us, and he's going to be talking about combating hunger one cookie at a time. So, Kuda's a serial entrepreneur. Started his first company when he was 9 years old in Zimbabwe, and moved to the U.S. with just $40 in his pocket to study here, and started his second company. Now works with. He's a co-founder and CMO of Nunbelievable. Companies backed by Tony Robbins and some other amazing entities. So I'll let him take it from here, but really excited to have you on and excited to hear your story here today.
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you, and I'm more than happy to be here. So right now, I would like everybody to just close your eyes for a minute. And I just want you to imagine that you're in second grade. You're living a happy life. Life is simple. You wake up in the morning, you have a good, delicious breakfast, and you go to school, and you play with your friends and learn, and you have a good lunch with your classmates. And after that, you go home, you grab a snack, and you do your homework. You go outside, you play, you watch some TV, and then it's dinner time, with your family. And again, you're 7 years old and you have your family around you and you're having dinner, and your mom and your dad are begging you to finish those vegetables that you don't really like. But you're fortunate enough to have this wholesome meal that you have right in front of you. Life is beautiful, right? So just continue closing your eyes and just imagine yourself, back in the day, 7 years old, second grade. And then all of a sudden, your country and its neighbors are hit by its worst drought ever. Everything changes. Just imagine that moment where it just goes from beautiful to devastated, like this. Now you can open up your eyes. So that's me, Kuda, as you can see, when I was in second grade. This is 1992 in January. My class picture, life was beautiful, right? I would wake up in the morning, have a delicious breakfast, go to school, play with my friends, have lunch, and go back home, grab a snack, do my homework, play, watch some TV, and then have dinner as a family. And in this moment, what I didn't know was that in less than 90 days, right, Southern Africa was going to be hit by its worst drought in the 20th century. As you can see, this is the New York Times article where they were actually talking about some of the things that were going on, in Africa at that time, right? The drought that we got hit by, had immense impact on our water supply, right? So as you obviously know, if it doesn't rain and you have crops, then your crops aren't gonna, you're not gonna have any harvest that season. We had a lot of livestock that died. More than 1 million cattle died. And the thing about water, and it's important, is that food grows where water flows. And when there's a drought, the water table goes so down that there's an imbalance in the ecological life, right? Fish die, and animals that migrate to certain regions following the rainfall season, they don't migrate. And it also puts an impact on the ecological lifestyle of a country. And things like cholera, right? They tend to actually thrive when there's not a sufficient water supply, and that was the situation in Zimbabwe at the time. So we had a cholera outbreak, we had a massive drought, and what's interesting about Zimbabwe was that Zimbabwe was known as the bread basket of Africa. We actually had a net export quota when it came to food, right? As you can see, the table that I'm showing, you can see the totals by year, millions and millions of tons of grain. In this case, it was maize that we were producing every single year. And then in 1992, look at the numbers, right? It goes from 600,000 the previous year to 12,000. A 98% drop year over year in grain supply. We did not have enough food to last us for months, let alone to export to other countries. So it was a very, very tough experience for everybody, not just me, but the entire country, the entire Southern African region. So talk about countries like South Africa, Lesotho, Swaziland, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, and Namibia, right? And for me, that was really my first experience with hunger, right? Because food wasn't there. You were lucky enough to have 2 meals a day, fortunate enough to have 1 meal a day, but the average person would probably go for a day or two without having a proper nutritional meal. And for me, this experience really just showed me what hunger can do to people. And what I've also learned over time is that hunger is just not a problem for the developing countries, right? Countries like Zimbabwe that suffered a drought and things like that. This is a global issue. And this is data from the United Nations that shows that about 26%, and this is pre-COVID, 26% of the world's population struggle with hunger. And with a 7.8 total world population, we're talking about 2 billion people in the world that struggle with hunger. 2 billion is a big number. And to maybe put it in context so that you can maybe wrap your head around what I mean by that is it's talking about every single person in China. China has a 1.4 billion population. You add the entire US population, which is about 330. You add our friends who like to have the samba dances in Brazil, that's 210. And then you add the UK, that's about 60 million. So you add these 4 countries, imagine everybody in these countries hungry. That is the global issue pre-COVID. And I'm sure the numbers are actually increasing over time. So for me, hunger is an issue that I think everybody needs to really start thinking about. How can we play a role in solving this issue? And for me personally, having come from Zimbabwe and then coming to the US and seeing some of the things, the dichotomy between those two worlds, I think a lot can be done to solve hunger domestically, but also to solve hunger globally. And it can start with us as individuals, go into entrepreneurs, right? And also involve governments and nonprofits. But before I move further, I want to share a little story about how hunger really affected my household. So remember the drought that I spoke about in 1992 that really affected the Southern African region and Zimbabwe as well. My father was actually part of the food relief efforts through a coalition of churches that got together to really come in and help fight hunger. And during this time, he would go out on weekends into the remote parts of the country to really go out there and fight this issue. And what was interesting was that, when you'd come back from this trip, he would literally come back with 2 stories to share with me. Either a positive story of like, hey, Kuda, we got to this village right on time, and we were able to provide them meals, and we were able to save people. Or the second but sad story, which was, we got there a little late. We were 2 days late, and we got to a homestead, and they had lost a child due to starvation. In some of these remote parts, like somewhere my grandmother would live, some of these people that had children or families die were people that I knew. So for me, hunger is personal. because I've seen how firsthand it can really decimate and people can die because of starvation. But what happens is that when it's not happening in your household, and it's not in your backyard, people don't really dig deep to see how deep this issue is. So let's talk about our own backyard, assuming that a large majority of the people watching are in North America. So we're talking about population. The Canadian population as of 2019 was about close to 38 million, you know, very diverse country in terms of population distribution. But what's interesting is that the number of people that struggle with hunger in America is 40 million. So there are more people in America struggling with hunger than there are people in Canada. And I want you to maybe wrap your head around it for a minute, right? So think about it. There are more people struggling and facing hunger on every single day in the United States than there are the people in Canada. And these numbers are pre-COVID numbers. Feeding America recently released a report where they were projecting the impact of hunger in the US post-COVID. And right now they project that this number is actually gone up from 40 million to 54 million Americans who have no idea where their next meal is going to come from. So the problem is huge, right, in the United States. But I believe that there's hope. And part of the reason why I believe that there's hope is because there's been really good case studies that, you know, entrepreneurs as well as people in general can band together to solve issues just like this. And a good example would be Warby Parker, for example. So last year in their annual report, Warby Parker reported that, you know, they'd been able to distribute 5 million eyeglasses, right? Eyewear with their buy one, give one model. So, you know, an entrepreneur plus consumers came together and 5 million people can now see, right? And they have the eyeglasses they need to be able to see. So that's one good case study happening. Another good case study is Bombas socks. And, you know, with Bombas, they have also a one-for-one model where they donate a pair of socks for every pair bought. They've started to actually expand into other categories like T-shirts and so forth and so forth. And, you know, they're just crushing it. As you can see, you know, close to 41 million items have been donated right now. Because if you think about a homeless person, socks are essential, right? Because they keep you warm, especially if you're like in New York City, Chicago, you know, all these other cold regions. So what they're doing is amazing work. And these entrepreneurs are able to do it with the help of people like you and me, you know, who are buying socks or T-shirts or eyewear in order to make a difference. So there's a part that everybody can play in doing that. And like Tim said, as he was introducing me, you know, I've been an entrepreneur ever since I was 9. I started my first business when I was still in Harare, Zimbabwe. And this was a window cleaning business. And it just, you know, laid those seeds in me to really become an entrepreneur. And then when I came to the United States, I started my second business, which was a social entrepreneurship venture called AFR Clothing. And AFR Clothing, the premise was similar to Bomba Socks, where we had, you know, buy one, you know, donate model. So we would donate 20% of our profits to send children in Africa to school. And, you know, the business was able to send hundreds of children to school in Africa. But it really enabled me to see the impact that enterprise plus consumers can actually do in the marketplace. After I graduated, I went and I worked for over a decade in Fortune 500, you know, in corporate America, where I was, you know, building and creating multi-million-dollar businesses but I always felt something was missing because I wasn't really able to have a direct correlation between the work that I was doing and the impact in the world that we had, right? So when an opportunity came about to really create a business that was transformational, and had direct and a direct impact tied into the business model, I went on it running, right? I quit my corporate job to start Nonbelievable, which is the cookie company that we started last year with my business partner, Brian Janesco. And with Nonbelievable, what we're doing is we're fighting hunger in a delicious way, right? For each cookie that you eat, we get to feed someone in need. We now have a buy one, give one model. So one cookie equals one meal. And what we like about our cookies is that, they're delicious, first of all, because taste is super important. But we also make them with honest ingredients. So right now our line consists of, you know, non-GMO cookies. So we have like better for you ingredients. We don't use any preservatives in what we, in all of our cookies. We have no artificial flavors. They're handcrafted artisanal cookies, very, very delicious, with heavenly taste. Like we like to say, but the key thing is that we have a mission, and the mission really came about when we learned about a group of nuns in San Francisco that were baking cookies and using the funds that they were getting from those sales to make a difference. And Tony Robbins learned about the nuns. He went out and he helped them. They were actually being evicted, and he helped them. And then he learned about this mission they had, where they were feeding people. And then the idea came about to say, like, hey, why can't we really create a brand that takes inspiration from these nuns and really make a difference? So that's where Brian and myself came in and joined the team that was ideating on this idea. And we've been able to take Nonbelievable to market October last year. So we've been in the market for less than a year. Our 1-year anniversary is coming up pretty soon, so we're really excited about that. But what we're more excited about is the impact that we've been able to make in less than a year. So far, we've been able to donate more than 100,000 meals through some of our impact partners here in the US. So as you can see right now, we work with World Vision, a very big nonprofit organization that fights hunger, education, disaster relief, not just here in the US, but globally. We also work with New York City Relief, and I'm going to talk about New York City Relief shortly so that you can learn more about what they do. We also work with North Texas Food Bank, an affiliate with Feeding America, but really focused in the Texas region. And we work with a group of nuns from Sisters of Mercy, as well as Joshua's Heart Foundation. So our model, like I said earlier, one cookie, one meal. So we then donate a portion of each proceeds from our sales to these impact partners who are fighting hunger. So together we get to fight hunger. What I really want to do now is I just want to highlight some of our impact partners. And I want to start with Joshua's Heart Foundation. Joshua's Heart Foundation was started by Joshua Williams when he was just 5 years old. And the story is quite fascinating. What happened was his grandmother gave Joshua $20 as a gift. And when he was on his way to church with his mom, he looked outside the window and saw a guy who had a sign that says, "Hungry, need money for food." And he has the $20 in his pocket, and he's thinking to himself, this guy is hungry, he needs to eat, I'm blessed, I'm good to go, and I have this $20 in my pocket, and rolled down the window, gave the guy the $20. He goes back home, and by fate, a commercial comes up, talking about hunger and how people across the world are struggling and how people can help. And then at 5, he really was pressed to do something. So he asked his mom to start cooking on Sundays for homeless people in their local neighborhood. So, the first event, only 5 homeless people showed up. In about 2 months, 200 people were showing up. And, they were just doing it, through friends and family, just cooking every Sunday and really just helping their community. Over time, they decided to actually now turn this, family event into a nonprofit. So when he was 7, they formed Joshua's Heart Foundation as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And over the past, 15 years, they've been able to donate over 3 million pounds of food to distribute it to families and people in need, not just in Miami where they're based, but across the United States and even internationally to places like Jamaica and Nigeria. They've been able to fundraise more than $2 million to fight hunger. And they've been doing all of this really by integrating the youth, right? They focus on being youth driven because Joshua was 5 when he started it. And as he was growing up, he wanted to have his friends and his classmates and his peers to join him on the fight against hunger. So far, they've been able to have more than 60,000 youth volunteers join in. And they've also been able to get help from a lot of brands, some brands much bigger than Unbelievable, like Unilever, Publix, and Whole Foods. And as you can see here, they were doing a Share a Meal campaign with Unilever. But we love, Joshua's story because it is an unbelievable story, right? It's unbelievable how a 5-year-old with a vision and taking some action can really then over time achieve this tremendous results. And the Obama administration actually recognized Joshua for the amazing work that he has done. And then New York City Relief, another partner within our network, and New York City Relief, they've been at it a little bit longer than Joshua. They've been doing this for 31 years. And they're really focused on the New Jersey and New York area. And what they do is they have these relief buses, as you can see, that drive around the city to certain points, and they bring food and love and compassion to the homeless population in New York and New Jersey. I've had the unique opportunity to go and volunteer at some of these events. And when you talk to some of these people and just listen to their stories, you can actually see that it can happen to anyone. Like I'll share an example of a story of someone I spoke to, and this gentleman who I spoke to used to work for an investment bank on Wall Street. He was super successful, Ivy League trained, and he was living the life. He was living in a high rise in Manhattan, and then one unfortunate event after the other led him to become homeless. He found out that his wife was having an affair. He picked up a drinking and drug habit. He got fired. He got evicted. And in like a period of 6 months, he was on the street with nowhere to live, with no job, with a lot of debt, and he's homeless and is hungry. But what I like about New York City Relief, as you can see, what I've highlighted here, is that not only do they provide, the food, the hot chocolate, and anything to help these people, they also provide resources to help these struggling people transform their lives. Because it's not just the notion of feeding a man a fish, right? You also want to teach them how to fish or bring them back on their footing. And that's why for us, they're an ideal partner, because we get to, help them with their meal program, but they're also helping these people to really get back on their feet. So I've highlighted some organizations out there that are doing it. I've also shared how Unbelievable is doing it. And I've also talked about how big the problem is globally and also locally here in the US. But what I want to leave you with are 3 things, right, on how you can also make a difference. So you can join us in fighting hunger by volunteering. a lot of these organizations like Joshua's Heart Foundation, World Vision, New York City Relief, they need people to volunteer their time to join them and really show love to these people that need love and hope and the meals right now. And I know with COVID, it's a little bit tricky and things are a little bit, in flux, but a lot of these organizations have opportunities where you can do things virtually. They've implemented a lot of protocols to enable people to still volunteer while still, remaining safe. And another way to do it is by doing, a food drive. So you could do a virtual food drive. You can do it with your friends, your church, your company, or where you work. But it's super important for you to find organizations locally where you can go and donate food. If you're like in areas that face hurricanes, like let's say Florida, it's super important to do things like this. Or even on the West Coast right now with all the fires that are going on, to be able to think about some of the people that are becoming homeless, and or even the homeless themselves, like how can they eat and whatnot. Having a food drive is something that can really help. And then last but not least, is you can support brands like Nonbelievable, right? You can partner with us by becoming our customer, and together we can really make some impact. So in our case, for each cookie we sell, we are able to donate a meal, but it doesn't have to be us. There's so many other brands out there that are making an impact and making a difference and really fighting hunger. But I really wanted to just leave you with 3 tangible ways you can really join in this fight against hunger. So, we know that the hunger issue, us as a brand alone, we won't be able to solve it. It's a big issue, but we can make a serious dent in it. We also need everybody else to be coming up with ways and solutions to help. We need local governments, the federal government, nonprofit organizations to join us in this fight. But what's super important and what I wanted to do with this discussion is raise awareness on the issue, right? Give you some facts and figures of how big it is, but also leave you with tangible ways on how you can make a difference. So that is my presentation, Tim. So if there's any Q&A, any questions, I'm here for the next few minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Kuda. It's amazing what you guys are doing at Nonbelievable, and I definitely like this idea, this buy one give one model. Like people need to know that they can they don't always have to make an impact by building something or donating something. Like just through their purchases, they can make an impact in the world and what people are doing. And there's a lot of companies out there who are doing similar models for all kinds of amazing things and amazing organizations. And I think it's important for all of us to look at where we are buying what we buy. But yeah, mostly just give you a chance to let people know where can they find out more about you and more about Nonbelievable, or where they can get involved.
Yeah, so they can definitely learn about Nonbelievable and actually purchase some cookies on nonbelievable.com. So NUNBELIEVABLE.com. Again, we got the name because we're inspired by nuns, so that's why it's Nonbelievable. And you can just go on our website. You can see all the delicious flavors that we have. You can read more about our impact. And, we hope that you can join us in this fight to make a difference to, people who are struggling with hunger.
Yeah. Once again, man, really appreciate it. Appreciate all you're doing and the impact you're creating in the world. And appreciate you joining us here on the Global Hope Summit to talk about it, my man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Will do.
All right.
All right.